Sitaram viewers, and welcome to the Hindu Perspective here on IETV. This special program of the Dharma Mandal of Swaha, which is the board of Swaha. And with me today, of course, Pandit Jaidat Maharaj, one of our regular hosts, along with a senior member of the Dharma Mandal, Panagyandev Prasad. And as you know, for the last few weeks, those who are joining us again, for the last 2 weeks, in fact, we have been looking at various aspects of the Hindu marriage or the Viva Sanskar. We looked at the Hindu Marriage Act as it exists here in Trinidad and Tobago, and various aspects of marriage as it pertains to some of the guidelines and rules and rituals, even of Sanatan Dharma and Hinduism. So it certainly has been engaging over the last couple of weeks. And it has been a very interesting time for all Hindus, all Sanatanist Hindus in particular. Last week, we would have celebrated with great fervor and great pomp and ceremony the birth of Bhagwan Krishna. We celebrated Janamashtami. And then we are also preparing, many of you are fasting already and making preparations for Ganesh Utsav, which starts next week, Tuesday. So certainly it's a wonderful time for all of us here in Swaha, and I'm sure for all of you viewers. But even while all of these important religious occasions go are about to commence, and as they pass us, we are still concerned with some of the important aspects of our rituals and our sanskars that we find sometimes are overlooked. So we continue for one more week today to discuss various aspects of marriage and Hindu marriage in general. But to give you a little bit more detail, I will ask Panajayda to do that. Before he does so, of course, we join in prayer. And I ask everyone to join together as we bow our heads and we focus upon Sri Ganesh Bhagwan, that Lord who is Gyan Data, giver of knowledge, Vigna Harta, that one who helps us to overcome obstacles and challenges in life, in our minds. Om Sri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Yam Brahma Vedanta Vido Vadanti Param Pradhanam Purusham Tathanye Vishwogate Karam Ishwaram Va Tasmai Namo Vigna Vinashanaya. Om Sri Vigneshwaraya Namaha. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Boliye Shri Gajanan Swami ki jai, Swaha Mata ki jai. Jairat.
Thank you very much, Pandit Ishwar. And as was mentioned, we are in our third week discussing Vivaha Sanskar. And this is the first time we have had a topic that would have extended for this period of time. And it is simply because there are so many dimensions to this topic. We looked at the legal part, we looked at the polity, and we are looking at some of the social issues that are surrounding this Vivaha Sanskar. And today we're going to get into that in the second part of the program. But as Panditji mentioned, earlier in the programs, the previous weeks, we looked at our scriptures and we were guided by some of the formats that we would have seen in terms of the marriage ceremony between Bhagwan Shankar and Parvati Ma, between Prabhu Sri Ram and Sita Devi. We have seen the precedents for the rituals that we practice today in India, in Trinidad, and other parts of the world also. Now we are approaching the Ganesh Utsav period. And in the Ganesh Utsav period, we read from many scriptures. And the Pandits would know as well as others that there are many versions of the Ganesh Puran. And there's always a controversial part, aspect of, why we do not use Tulsi, or so it is said. I know that as Swaha Pandits, we practice differently. Maybe this is something both Pandits will comment on. What really is, what do we do? Do we use it? Don't we, or do we don't use it? Because in some scripture, one version of Ganesh Puran, one of the Katha, it says that Tulsi Mata, she had this desire to marry Sri Ganesh. He rejected her, etc. And she make advances on him, and he pronounces Sarap on her. And therefore, that Tulsi will not be used in Prasad. The Sri Ganesh is not be accepted. So maybe that's something we can talk about. But what it does allude to is the idea that marriage ceremony happens in different ways. That it may be a formal ceremony in the sense that you have the presence of the pandit and promises and commitments are made by family, sometimes just through the giving of a word that marriage takes place, sometimes even in the mind or intent that can lead to marriage, or sometimes just the exchange of, a word or a mala or a simple vow can be marriage. So that, what I'm saying is that there are many different forms. And I know that Panditji, both of them would have done some research based on scriptures and other types of research that will shed some light on the types of marriage. For this is important also as we go through the scriptures, as in the case of the Ganesh Puran, which I'm sure you're going to hear during this course of Ganesh Utsav, that marriage ceremony with the Sri Ganesh and Tulsi Mata, that intent, as well as the marriage of Sri Ganesha, Riddhi and Siddhi, all of these different aspects. And hopefully when this information is shared, we'll have some better understanding. So to lead us off in the first part of our discussion, which is going to be on the different types of Hindu marriages, I'll pass over to Pandit Gyandev and of course then Pandit Ishwar.
Thank you. Thank you, Panajairat. From my perspective, the various forms of marriage, there are many. But the one we are accustomed with is called Brahma Viva, which you go through. And then the good thing about Hinduism is we do not condemn or criticize. The scriptures encapsulates what happens. Just as Krishna Bhagavan said, food, 3 types, actions, 3 types, marriages, 3 types. The very same thing applies here. We are not criticizing or condemning, we just say what happens, what occurs. I have sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So even in marriage, you have these 3 things. The sattvic marriage or the true marriage is called Brahma Viva, which we deal with. There are other forms of marriage which the other points can deal with as we go along, we see fit, because the time is limited. But I want to touch on the point of what Jairat mentioned. If a woman approaches a man for marriage and he declines, what kind of marriage is that? What should the woman do? And that is the basis of what they said concerning Tulsi Mata, that she approached Ganesha marriage and he declined and she got angry. Now for me, this is my personal view. I'm not criticizing or condemning anything, but I don't believe that. There are many things that we say and it's not in scriptures, or if in scriptures, it is not sanctioned by anybody. They call it what I call after the fact. So because people do not use Tulsi in puja to justify it. Now, if common sense tells you, if Tulsi was vexed, why would she say, I will not be offering your prasad? She say, you will not be worshipped. That's vexation. Why choose prasad? Say, do not put me in your prasad. So that to me is trivial. And I'm saying, I, the Pandit, following the Shankaracharya tradition, according to Vishnu Puran, when Vishnu, when Brinda got that sarap, when Brinda gave Vishnu that sarap, he said, you'll be using all my puja. So whenever you're doing Vishnu puja, you put the tulsi on the saligram. And Vishnu said, all my puja, it goes back to his Bhagavad Puran. When they was asking, what is Satikaram? For that Jnana and Bhakti to revive. He said, do Satikaram. Satikaram means worship of Vishnu Bhagavan. In Bhagavad Puran, you have heard it. So Satikaram means offering to God. So when you say offering to God, it means Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Ganesh, Shiv, Sri Ram, any form of God. This was in my puja. And just as Krishna Bhagavan spoke in the Gita, he said, I and my. When he speaks about that, he speaks about the entirety of divinity. So that's the first thing. That if, in other words, what people are doing, they're making Tulsi to a demoness, like Surpanakha. When Surpanakha approached Sri Ram, I said, I'm married, I don't want you. She got angry and she rushed to kill Sita and him. So what we are doing, we're equating that with Ganesh Bhagavan and Tulsi Mata. Tulsi Mata is not like that. Because when she got the srap from Vishnu Bhagavan, when she gave the srap to Vishnu Bhagavan said, you will be used in my puja, in all my puja. And that is in Vishnu Puran. And that's authentic. So that is sattvic marriage when you get married to somebody who agrees with you. Their meeting of minds and marriage for that is called Brahmiva. Not when somebody approach you for their convenience. Because they find you good looking, you have money, and you can take them up in life. So to go into a tiny point, this first this thing about not putting Tulsi in Ganesh Puja, I will say emphatically, it is rubbish, stupidness. Just as when you read in some scriptures, so-called scriptures, that when Krishna got shot in his foot by Jara, and people use that, yes, you see, Ram killed Bali, so Bali had to come back and kill Ram. So wait, telling me, all the chicken had to come back and kill everybody who them? They make karma so fundamental, really stupid, you know. So you do this, you have come out, so you will be a continual revolution of saying happen over and over. So those things, yeah, many things scriptures. This is the difference between Swaha Pandits and other Pandits. We don't just read things because they're, and we go now, before I pass on to Ishwar, there is what you call history. And when India was invaded, it said for 6 months, Hindu scriptures have been burnt. The fuel for the fire was Hindu scriptures. So they tried to burn all scriptures. And when they tried to do that, what happened? The scriptures had to be rewritten when the invaders lost control of India. And when you're writing scriptures, everybody, every single person, whether the Pandit, the Prime Minister, or beggar, everybody had the same thing, treating, except to Krishna and Tamsik. So if I'm writing thing, I want to write it to suit me. This is why we recognize and saw the Ramayana. But it's written, Bhagwan Shankar stamped it, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. If it is there, it is true. If it's not there, we do not show about it. So you have all your scriptures. The Vishnu Puran, you have the Bhagavad Puran, which is authentic also. You have other scriptures that came about, and many things are inside there. So you have to compare what originally there was and what it came to be after 1,000 years, 600 years ago, when the invaders invaded and tried and burn all the scriptures. So there are many things in this. And as I said, what Swaha Pandit is doing is taking out the stupidness and the pakhand from our scriptures. So you wouldn't hear that from us. You wouldn't hear those kind of fundamental flaws from us. Because what we're doing is treating the devas and devis with contempt by telling them, oh, Tulsi Mata was X. So Ganesh and Tulsi come like two lady, a man and lady, some down Pinal. Or let's say Pinal. Let's say some Trinidad. Let's use example. The man vexed, the lady vexed. So we took revenge. You read that in the news every day. Two persons, one to marry next and one don't like him. And let's not bring our divinity to that fundamental stupidness. So, I'll pass on to Ishwar. We are saying, do not believe all those things you hear. And people want to read the scriptures blindly, let it go ahead. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they don't have the insight. This is why we say you must do meditation. I'll talk about that later on. That the Swaha Pandits sit down, we analyze, we cross-reference, and we use our intellect, and we use the Sanskrit, we use the Hindi, and we use authentic scriptures which have not been interfered with. There are many, many things in our scriptures which is not there originally, and we have to take it out. So this is part of the purpose of the Hindu perspective. So I pass on to Pandit Ishwar.
Thank you, Pandit Gandevji. So as we talk about Tulsi and we talk about different types of marriages, and the question there was, or the illustration really, and that little katha, we were reminded of Tulsi Mata and Shri. How many of you would have heard this, maybe as devotees doing for Tulsi Viva at certain times? You know, there's a certain mantra, Yan Mule Sarva Tirthani, Sarva Devata. Another way, you know, there are different versions of it. Basically, Mule tu Sarva Tirthani, Saka tu Sarva Devata, Pate tu Sarva Yagyani, Tulsi tu Namami Aham. So we are saying the root of the Tulsi resides, of course, all those places of Tirat, pilgrimage. And in the stems and the middle of the Tulsi, then, the stems and the branches of Tulsi Mata reside what? All the deities. All the devatas are there present. And the blessing of all the yagyas are there in the leaves of Tulsi Mata. Another version says all the knowledge of the scriptures are there present within the leaves of Tulsi Mata, which you get from yagya in any case. So we are equating one particular katha where Tulsi Mata, and yes, there's that katha, the illustration in Ganesh Puran, in one version of Ganesh Puran. There are other versions, you can check it and you will not find that katha there. But yes, it is in one version. I've seen for myself also. But you extrapolate, check all the other kathas and all the other, you know, scriptures that you will check. No such reference. But devotees at the same time, we are now neglecting the Tulsi Mata, the Tulsi plant that we revere, and you are likening that plant, and linking it to this one kata thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, another cult or cycle of time. If you want to extrapolate even further, you can go. You see, Ganesh Baba became Pratham Puj by walking around Parvati Mata, right? And Shankar Bhagwan. Another Katha tells you, another Kalpa cycle of time, he walked around Sri Ram. So which is the correct? The name Sri Ram. That is written Ramcharitmanas. So which is the correct one? So which one do you take and which one do you object to or you reject? You're not rejecting them. Likewise, that kata that is there, yes, it would have had a particular significance at that time there in terms of limited framework then. But if you now take all the other katas and understanding what the mantra says, the all deities, all devatas, all forms, including Ganesh Baba, Pratham Punj, is represented within Tulsi Mata, then how can you reject Tulsi? So that's just one point I want to make. As to your Pandit, your Guruji, I am not saying start any arguments. Certainly, if you are Pandits, your Pandits are Swaha Pandit, and there are many other pundits out there, right? I don't want to call names, but I know many of them that also use the Tulsi in Ganesh Baba puja and worship, right? But the point is, it is not about causing any conflict. It's about bringing education and showing different perspectives, and we're explaining. Check the mantra, and you will see for yourself every single part Tulsi Mata. All the divine forms are represented within the Tulsi, including Ganesh Baba. And long ago, I remember growing up, you would always hear also, you can't put Tulsi in Shiv Prasad. That was something long ago. Panagyandev might remember. He's just a little bit older than me. You remember that too, right? Long time. No Tulsi in Shiv Prasad. And that was nonsense. Now that has debunked a long time. Everybody using Tulsi now, including some who said, don't use Tulsi in Shiv Puja, Shiv Prasad. And I'll leave it there with the Tulsi. So you draw your own conclusions, talk to your Guruji, talk to your Pandit. But if it is not a Swaha Pandit, you may not hear the same sentiments that we're expressing to you. But certainly be guided by good judgment, by the scriptures, understand what we are saying. Now, also we're talking about, the reference there with Tulsi and Ganesh Baba, so a rejection of a particular proposal then that was made, which is something that many people have to deal with in life, right? Many people would have had to deal with rejection. The first type of rejection, all different areas, but certainly in terms of marriage also. They are now, not to bring in too much of Bollywood and too much of popular culture into it, Panajeda, Panagyande, but I'm seeing on television, and we're not promoting any other type of, entertainment really. We wanted to be engaged in religious education, but meaningfully engaged. At times, you must look for entertainment. There are some programs originating out of India that deal with marriage and different types of marriage. I can't remember the name of the program now, but there's a popular one on Netflix, which is a streaming facility, a streaming network, and there they are actually showing um, arranged marriages. That's the word I'm searching for. Arranged marriages. And the Brahm Viva, which is the first one, the Panajayada Panagyandeo, is akin to what many people would term an arranged marriage, because you follow the rituals, yes, as they are there, but certain things are taken into consideration where the boy, the young boy, or the Dullahan, the Dullahin, those of eligible age, bachelor, bachelorette, they do not simply go out into the world and look for, love at first sight then and look for someone. Parents get involved. They'll have people who will assist them. Sometimes it's guru, it could be the guru mai, or you'll have one, the correct term I think is the agua, someone who will look, and have certain skill set to identify people who may match up with that family and that lineage. We'll come to lineage and even caste and so on maybe may come into the play here, but there are certain attributes that you look for. And so when you talk about arranged marriage, many people shy away from it. You think, well, that's a long time thing, that's nonsense. But you know what? I can tell you, many people now, many professionals now. Last week we talked about getting married at a later and later age and putting off for later. They will call Baba, they will call Guruji and say, Pandit, 20 years now I'm studying and working. I didn't find the time to do this. Can you help me? And it is happening where they are now going back to the pundit and they're now going back to the little, I'm sorry for using the term. Um, I go to say little old lady, right? But you know what I mean. I forgive me for using that. That one who will help people and who just has that love and consideration there for children that she will see grow up in the temple and will say, no, okay, I know this one. I'll give you this number and call and let's arrange a meeting for the children because the families will know your lineage, they will know your temperament, and they will actually bring together or at least offer individuals who may be best suited for you, whether it's Dulaha, Dulahin to be. So the whole idea of arranged marriage, maybe we could talk a little bit on that when we come back, but we need to take a break at this time. Please do join us in a short while again. Sitaram.
Join us as we explore contemporary issues facing societies worldwide. Interviews and discussions featuring local and international experts. You can participate in our live call-in segments, a program of the Board of SWAHA.
Join live every Tuesday evening at 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and prime time at 7 p.m.
Welcome back, dear viewers, devotees. So we were speaking about marriages, and we are speaking about marriages, Hindu marriage in particular, and we spoke about that first one that is Brahm Viva or Brahm marriage, then which we say is the highest, the first of the 8 forms, right? And we're not going to itemize and necessarily go into detail into all of the 8, but that first one, which generally you will loosely hear pundits say, well, we all do the Brahm Viva, that highest form. But at its very core, it really has to do with individuals who are like-minded, who come from similar background, being brought together, whether, yes, they may see each other, but you have other elements at play. You will have the pundit probably, you may have the guruma, as I said, you may have some other member of the community helping to bring them together because they look at educational level, background, family background, religion, of course, very important, and various other, temperament. They will look at age, practices. They even look at things, whether or not the temperament of the boy can match up. And then, the astrologers, the Jyotishis, the pundits then, who are so well trained, will check and see whether or not, the two planets match, whether the two Rashis match, and whether not just the Rashi, you go deep down to the nakshatra, whether the two nakshatras match, and you actually get a score, a rough score essentially out of 36 generally, right? And you would use that. And as pundits, we will say, well, okay, if it's more than 18, it's something that could work. And if it is 10 and less, you will say, well, perhaps it's best if we keep looking then. This marriage may have a lot of problem. But I could tell you from my own limited experience, other pundits may have more experience in doing this. I've done weddings where there are people, the scores are in the 30s, very high score, and the marriage has not been successful for one reason or another. And there are people who scores have been relatively low, less than half, less than 10 even, but they stick to it, they work on the problems and difficulties that come their way, and they have children, they may move on, yes, they have the difficulties like everybody else, but you know what? The marriage works for them. They are able to make it work. So I'm saying being brought together and having others, come and help push two people together is not always a bad thing. So I'm likening certain aspects. I'm looking at certain aspects of the Brahm Viva and the marriage to certainly arranged marriage. Panajayat, I know he helps a lot. He has a lot to do with that. And I could say this, Panajayat had a role to play in my marriage also. So I could say it. And there's no shame in saying it, and Panagandev knows this too. So I hand over to Pandit Jaidat to continue.
Thank you, Pandit Ishwar. And yes, so Pandit Ishwar would have indicated that, and I can, testify to that. When I met Pandit Ishwar at university, I have girl cousins, and I knew the background of Pandit Ishwar, of my cousins. I knew it would have been a perfect fit. There was nothing forced. Nobody was forced to marry anyone. It was just a meeting, and of course, there's compatibility between Pandit Ishwar and my cousin Ambika, and of course, that led to their marriage, and obviously, I mean, they are happily married and all that. So it happens from time to time, and we mentioned this last week, that sometimes these things come across, persons have the impression that these things are backward and traditional is not bad. Now, of course, in the case of Sri Ram and Sita, Sita Swayamvar, that was arranged marriage in the sense that suitors came. I will mention this 1 or 2 times, that those persons who were invited, they fit a certain criteria. And of course, Sita Ma had the choice to choose amongst those that, who would have met the criteria. It so happened that the only one who was able to meet all of the criteria was Sri Ram, not only being a prince, but able to live that bow. If all of the princes were able to live that bow, then she should have choose among whoever she wanted among all of the qualified persons. But it so happened that only Sri Ram was able to live that bow. So he met all of the criteria. And if you look at what is the proliferation of social media and all of this, there are many what we call dating sites. So one of them is eHarmony, and eHarmony will do the same thing. So you don't have a mediatory, someone in the middle, but you really have this site where you put all of your personal information, and of course you find persons who are similar to you in terms of background, education, similar in age, similar in preferences, and you have that freedom to reach out to that person. And of course, you may start a conversation, and in so doing, there were many cases of persons who were able to find a life partner through that means. I know that there's a version, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a version of eHarmony for persons of Indo origin, and for other ethnicities also. And sometimes, we all notice that you may have a friend, and a friend will know that, okay, you may be single, and they may know someone who is similar to you, and they may introduce you to someone. And a simple introduction, it lead to a relationship and lead to marriage and all of that. So that these things are not unheard of. And it is unfortunate that, Hinduism and our way of life and our traditions, they take a bad rap because of misunderstanding and what is an arranged marriage. Now, we know that in society, sometimes there's forced marriage, but an arranged marriage and a forced marriage is not the same thing. And it is easy to misunderstand this and to not understand the difference. But when we speak about this arranged marriage, and introducing someone, as Pandit Ishwar explained, the steps that are involved, there is freedom of choice. An arranged marriage and a forced marriage are not the same thing. An arranged marriage where someone has introduced a set of suitors, that is consistent with Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma. A forced marriage is not consistent. That is a social tradition. And not because it happens in India, it is equal to Hinduism. India is not equal to Hinduism. And we have to make that differentiation and that distinction. So that we are saying that, this arranged marriage, it is consistent with the Brahm marriage as we are speaking about. And this is the marriage that we are accustomed to, that we normally see, that we have all been part of. And of course, it comes, as Panditji is saying, with the guidance of the guru, of the parents, of the pandits, the consent of all of these individuals. And in so doing, we ensure that there is a proper match. So that we have discussed this type of marriage. So what I'll do, I'll ask a question, and then Pandits could answer, and we could probably move on to maybe a different type of marriage so that our viewers will be aware. And the question is simply this, that in today's society where persons may be sharing relationships, as Pandits, how do we do this? So if someone comes to you, and persons do that, they come to us and they say, well, Pandit, we'd like to check the patra to see if we are compatible. But both individuals are already in a relationship for 3, 4, 5 years. Now, if you were to check the patra, and you were to see that the persons are not compatible, then I always ask, what is the value at that point in time? If we were to say that, no, you're not compatible, would anyone decide that they're not going to get married? How do we deal with those situations? What advice do we give persons who would be in that situation? They come to you, they have never checked before, but they have been in relationships for a long period of time. We see that there's lack of compatibility, then what advice is given? So maybe you can give your insights on that. And Pandit Ishwar, I know you have done some extensive research. You can probably give us some information on some of the other types of Hindu weddings. So maybe Pandit Gyande, we can pass over to you.
Energy, let me just mention, and I want to say all marriages are arranged marriage. All. Some are arranged in heaven, some are arranged in hell. It depends. But all are arranged marriages. And as Jaidat mentioned, the Viva marriage is where you have Kanyadan. That is the girl and boy keeps themselves, not the girl alone, the boy too. People believe the girl alone has to be a virgin. The boy has to be in that way too. Then it is true. Then it is the true Brahma Viva. And the other type of Viva, wherein, which is most prevalent, is Gandharv Viva. Gandharv is what Jared is speaking about. The boy and the girl live together, and then they get married, the girl child or the boy goes, say, Bala. So they say, Bala, one daughter or son. They do it these days. It's like Gandharv marriage. And sad to say, I have not done a research, but generally speaking, most marriages these days are Gandharv marriages. The boy see the girl see the boy, and they want to see if they're compatible, not just in terms of horoscope, physically. You want to see if they're compatible. If when I get up in the morning and I watch a person, they go say, oh God, I can't live with that person. Every morning I can see their face now. Or other factors. So all marriages, I'm saying, basically are Gandharv marriage these days. Because if you're going to Kanya Dan, the Kanya, if you're Kanya to a person who is not living a life, a man. So when you speak about Brahma, it applies to both male and female, not just the female. This is the problem in society today. We live in a world where only Hinduism says, what? Tumhi ho mata pita tumhi ho. Oh God, your mother, your father. We recognize the female form. But what happened is that they are male-dominated world. So they give different rules for males, different rules for females. This is why a long time, ladies wear orni. But the orni is a dead thing now. A long time, the men's we call Sanatan had to pagri. So that there too. Those are tradition long time, which apply to both. Whatever you want to put on for a man to do, the woman has to do the same thing. If you say the woman has dedicate herself to the husband, then the woman will do the same thing, the man will do the same thing. The woman have pati prata dharam. They dedicate herself to your husband. And the man have ekavrat nari. You have dedicated yourself to one woman. So when you do that, you have Gandharv Viva or not. As I said, in my opinion, it's not a story I've done, but generally speaking, from how society is going and what we experience, what Jared has said, our people come to you and they're living 3-4 years together, they want to build households together and this and the other. They call it Gandharv marriage. And we still go on to Brahma Viva. That is tradition. We are criticizing condemning, but when people want to be self-righteous and say, we're doing the right thing, and them not doing the right thing, Krishna Bhagavan said in Gita again, goes back to the very same thing. Sattvic, Rasic, Tamasic. Viva are the same 3 categories. So we must be very careful about that. And we have to go into it. And my personal opinion is that in other religions, they boast, oh, we have pre-marriage counseling. And doesn't have that also. What do you think the whole thing about meeting the persons initiating, let them know what Hinduism is? The pre-marriage counseling goes on before and on the wedding day itself, publicly. What do you think when you take the vows? What do you think the vows are? Pre-marriage counseling. Do you dedicate? Are you going to dedicate your life to this woman for the rest of your life? Are you going to accept someone as yours for the rest of your life? Then those words are basically the vows. So Hindu has pre-marriage counseling also. That criticism I've heard, I've been hearing a lot about Hinduism. Hindus, Pandits don't do pre-marriage counseling. We do it. We do it. You know, pre-marriage counseling, live with your parents and see how they live, and you learn from them. That's counseling. So when you get married and live with your parents, When you get married and live with your grandparents, you're getting indoctrinated in how to live your life. So all these things are very simple and straightforward, but we are being criticized because Hinduism is different from others. We don't go along those lines. So people want to criticize Hinduism all the time. So I'll pass on to Panishwar. Before I pass on, I come back. Maybe Jayat will introduce the topic later on. That you get two persons married. I'll raise the issue now when we deal with it later on. Who do you get married to? To whom do you get married? You talk about choosing. On what basis do you choose? How do you look? In Sri Ram's case, he chose Sita Mara because they fell in love. And many people do seem to feel that love is a bad four-letter word, L-O-V-E. That is only good four-letter word we have. Love, fall in love. What is wrong with love? Long time when you hear love, you see all them leading eggs getting rid of things. Don't talk about that. So we'll deal with that. Who do you get married to? Do you choose somebody? You choose them, yes. As I said, either you choose them through karma or through force. And this is where, when you choose them through force, it may be different aspects. So I'll pass on upon Ishwar, because I said this is a vast topic which all Hindus, brothers and sisters, need to understand. And who to get married to? I'll read from the Gita, which tells that who to get married to, what kind of person. And it's something you hear from Krishna Bhagavan, which will shock you about marriage. Krishna Bhagavan mentioned marriage. The Gita has all the answers to us. So I'll pass on upon Ishwar.
Thank you, Pandit Gandhi. No, definitely. So the thing is, majority of marriages now are what we may call love marriages, as some people say, right? Love marriages as opposed to arranged marriage. But I agree with Pandit Gandhi. They're all arranged to some extent. But where there's common law marriage, where two people are living together, or where there's a love, two people have seen each other, fallen in love. Maybe they went to school together. Perhaps they just met, whether it's at a party or whatever it may be, and their eyes met and they fall in love with each other. And definitely, it is once certain things have taken place. In other words, that they are no longer kanya, then no longer pure, if we could use that term. Then certainly it descends down a little bit, and it isn't that they're so low, it is still a legitimate form of marriage, the Gandhar Viva, as it is called. And by the way, that's the fifth of the 8 types. So you have the Brahm marriage, Dev marriage, Arsh marriage, Prajapati, coming down to Gandharva, which is the 5th. So it is just at the midpoint or just below. So it doesn't mean that it's not legitimate. Yes, we do it. Now at the same time, you could see someone fall in love with that person. And Pandit Gyandev made an excellent point, reminding us of Sri Ram, Sita Mata. Sita Mata saw Sri Ram, and when she saw Sri Ram, so sure she was that he was the one she wanted to get married to. She went and prayed to Gauri Mata. Remember that? Jai Jai Girivar Raja Kishori, worshipping Gauri Mata to be wedded. And then she prayed to Lord Ganesh to make the bow as light as a feather, so he could lift it up, because she was worried whether he could lift that heavy bow. And then it is said Sri Ram, when he saw Sita Mata, this is how Tulsidas Ji put it, he etched the form of Sita Mata. He drew the form of Sita Mata on that clear, chart or page of his heart. Such beautiful imagery is used by Tulsidas Ji. But here you see these two forms falling in love or attracted to each other. So nothing is wrong with that. And don't get us wrong when we say arrange, let the Pandit and parents decide. That's not what we say. We're not going back to the Middle Ages or Dark Ages. We know that people see each other and fall in love, but we are saying certain, types of minimum standards must be maintained. So as far as possible, we know it's a different time now and people are interacting and they are living together at times, but still follow certain, types of restrictions as we get close to marriage. This is important. And just to touch on Jay that asked the question, which I think I didn't answer as yet. We're going to come to that afterwards. How do we advise such people who are already living together? What advice could we give them? They come to us to check compatibility, but they're living together already. We'll discuss that when we come back. Do join us after the break. Sitaram.
Join us as we explore contemporary issues facing societies worldwide. Interviews and discussions featuring local and international experts. You can participate in our live call-in segments. a program of the board of SWAHA.
Join live every Tuesday evening at 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and prime time at 7 p.m.
Welcome back, viewers. So we are talking about marriages, Hindu marriages, and what we may term as a Gandharva Viva Gandharva marriage, the union of two consenting individuals, two individuals who may be living together already. And when I say consenting, I think you already know what I mean, so I won't be more specific. They may not be living together, but they are already leading a life as though they are almost husband and wife already. But devotees and viewers, sorry, when you actually get married, even though you may be seeing each other every day, you're going out on dates and lying together, it's still very different to actually being married. And there, every day, as Panaganda mentioned, whether you could really see the person next to you when you wake up in the morning and be happy or feel contented, right? So that is a different matter. But then you have those who are living together already, and they will come. And at that point, after having lived together for many years and you're already, courting and together with each other for, let's say, sometimes in excess of 10 years, and the pundit will check and it's not a good score, what do you advise such people? Certainly, we won't tell them break up, and it make no sense. Go and look for somebody else, sell the house, and you all find somewhere else to live. Right? That's not what we advise. You will look and see. Yes, you will find a format, and your guruji, your pundit will guide you as to what can be done, what cannot be done. There may certainly be certain complications. You may have children already. So how do we navigate all of this? Your pundit, your guruji will guide you. If it's a Swaha Pandit, of course, it may be similar to some of the things you heard here already in the last few weeks, but certainly a Pandit will guide you. But the way I will look at it, Panajahidat, and to our viewers, your score may not be the best. If the score is a high score, well, then fine. Everything is good. You can move forward, at least astrologically speaking, according to Jyotish. You have a very good chance of highly successful life together. But if the score is low, then there are certain things that can be done. Are you fasting? Are you praying? Are you sitting together as a couple? Are you doing your worship on a regular basis? And you give them certain things to do. We talk about Tulsi. His tradition is mentioned, and certainly I know many of our pundits, our Parmachar, and certainly Pandit Balramji, one of our senior pundits, always speaks about, and this is some I recall for Kartik when we'll go, he will talk about the significance of Tulsi Mata worship during the month of Kartik. Kartik, during the whole month of Kartik, Shaligram worship at Tulsi is important, yes, but the worship at Tulsi especially, you leap around the Tulsi plant, right? Get a little bit of bacha gobar, as we say, the dry gobar, and you sprinkle a few drops of water, leap around the Tulsi plant, you light your ghee there, and you do your arti, and Jai Tulsi Ma, Om Hrim Shrim Klimaim Brindavanya Swaha, and you make your offering to Tulsi Mata. And why do you do this? For success, for happiness, for your children, in married life, for a better relationship, stronger relationship. So there are things that can be done. So even if the score, let's say, is not good, or you may feel that you hear, I don't even want to start talking about the other things. Some people say this one is manglik, and the presence of Mangal Devata in certain houses brings about ill effects or mal effects. That is going deep into astrology, which we won't talk about today. But the point is, you may have a form certain issues that can easily be sorted out by simply doing your regular worship, and your guru or your pandit will be the best one to guide you. So Panajayada, to complete answering that question, I may tell them based on what I check and what I see, I may advise do your fast for Ganesh Chaut, do your fast for Pradosh, for Lord Shiva, make your offering for Lakshmi Ma, and Vishnu Bhagwan, Satyanarayana Swami for Purnima or for Ekadasi. There are different things that can be given to these individuals. And what is the purpose? Is not to chain up their head and have them, addicted to worship as such, but it's to get them together, fasting, disciplining themselves, their lives, physically, but mentally also, until they, being together, working together for a common goal becomes second nature to them. And you will start to see positive changes in their life. So there are a number of ways you can approach it. One can be to give them certain, other aspects of the rituals that they can follow to assist them in their way. And there may be other things that, but this is what comes across my mind immediately. I hand over back to Panajaidat.
So thank you to both panelists for your perspectives on that. And it's already almost 20 past, and there's so much we still haven't covered. So we try to get through some of the points, and one of the things I want to pass over to Pandit Gandhi, who will share some of the information from the Bhagavad Gita in terms of the criteria for marriage and who should get married and to whom. So Panditji.
Thank you, Panajay. As you said, I take it directly from the scriptures, and I read what the scriptures say. But I preface it by asking a question. We live in a multiracial, multicultural society. If a boy will get married to one who is not of their background, what do you tell him? If a girl will get married to one who is not of their background, what do you tell her? And I will read what the scriptures have, the Gita, and then taken the Vishnu Puran also. And Ramayana has it also. Krishna Bhagwan Gita says, what happened? Age-long family traditions disappear with the destruction of a family. And virtue having been lost, vice takes hold of the entire race. With the preponderance of vice, Krishna, the woman of the family become corrupt. And the corruption of women, oh, Arjun, there ensues an intermixture of castes. It's called Varnashankar. And when this happens, progeny owing to promiscuity damns the destroyers of the race, as well as the race itself. Deprived of the offerings of Srad, the mains and their race shall also fall. And this is Krishna Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, verse 41 to 42. So simply put, to put on in common words now, if a boy gets married to somebody who is not of his tradition, is not of his background, nothing of his race, what he must do and what happens in society, that girl must conform to his tradition. So he is a Hindu, he wants to get married, the girl must come to be a Hindu and he must continue his tradition. Continue indoctrinate into that. Because it happens in every society. Now we're taking the other way around. A girl who's a Hindu is going to marry who is not non-Hindu. I have got around that who came to me, I told them flat. I said, if you're a Hindu, you have to continue being a Hindu. Marry who you want, I can't stop that. But do not stop your Hindu practice. Do not change your religion. Do not change the way your ancestors have brought you up. It is more important for a girl to maintain tradition of Krishna Bhagavan, because he said when a girl gets corrupt, what happens? The age-long family tradition disappears. And we all know the term is used as dharam dhuri. Dharam dhuri? Dharam dhuri is you have a wheel and you have an axle. The dharam dhuri in Mahabharata had it shown also in beginning. That which the wheel of dharma spins on is the axle, and the axle in Hinduism is the woman. If the woman gives up her tradition, if the woman gives up her cultural tradition, religious tradition, then she has failed and dharma falls. So to all people out there, the girl must never give up her tradition, a Hindu girl. What happened? You're going against the Gita, the scriptures. You must maintain that. This is why, in a sense, we are saying, if you marry someone who is not a Hindu, not of a Hindu background, you are putting yourself in dharam sankat. Dharam sankat means a quandary, a quagmire, they call it. Quagmire, what you would. What happened? Huh? What your situation is, you are Hindu, you can't do Srad Karam, the husband will vex. He's not a Hindu, he doesn't like that. You want to do all the Hindu tradition, the husband will vex. So in other words, Krishna Bhagwan Gita, again, he's not telling you who to marry. He's telling you where you do things. Each karma has consequences. So if you marry a non-Hindu, what happens? The consequence you put yourself in is damning yourself and damning your ancestors. This is what he's saying. In society, marriage whatever you want. Just like recently I said in the program previously, monkeypox spreading. And anytime you advertise, monkeypox is spread, what do you say? Mostly among men of relations with men. But they will stop it. They continue. That's what Krishna wants in Gita. Man is free. But your karma has consequences. Karma. So for women, it's more important for women to keep her dharma because they are dharma dhuri, the wheel upon the dharma, the axle of dharma, they are the axle upon which the wheel of dharma spins. So women are given that responsibility. And if they fall, dharma falls. In the Gita, Krishna Bhagavan says that they have to maintain a tradition. So in terms of interracial and interreligious marriages, women have the responsibility to always maintain, and then it comes next thing, children. You know, when Jayat mentioned about Ganesh Utsav, and they had modern things about science, where a woman to have baby by herself. You mentioned, you speak it before. So two women get married, and one had a baby somewhere else and so on. We're going to go details. But Ganesh Puran has that clearly explained. When Parvati Mata said, according to the Katha, took out the dirt from her skin and formed Ganesh. So she made a baby on her own. And what happened? Bhagwan Shankar destroyed that. Without the input of the man. He destroyed that. He said that's not the right thing. And he bring back Ganesh to life with another form, the form of an elephant head. So if one want to make baby on her own, it's going against the tradition again. That's Ganesh Puran has that. So it must have the male input. This is why he said a marriage is between a man and a woman. And those who want to marry a man are married, and one woman want to marry, but they live together. Hinduism doesn't recognize that as marriage. They live together wherever you want. But if you want to recognize it, as Ganesh Puran says, women do not feel you are, the term for my mind. You have the modern day influence of other people. We want to have women's liberation and equality. And Hinduism says that. Hinduism says women are here and men are below. Hinduism says women are above. So if you want to become, you are here and you want to come same with men, where do you bring down yourself? So women want to bring down yourself. So woman liberation, woman equality is bringing down yourself. Because in Hinduism, we say, Sita Ram, Radhe Krishna, Uma, Mahesh. Women are always given prevalence. They always above everybody. And they are given that sacred right of procreation. We worship, you know why we worship Brahma? Because women are the Brahma now. We worship Vishnu, worship Shiv. No Brahma creates anybody. No. Which Brahma creates you and I? It's woman create you and I, the woman in her womb. So Brahma is not worship. It becomes redundant. It's Vishnu Bhagavan and Bhagavan Shankar. This is one of the reasons why Brahma is not worship. Because the woman is so important. She is the Brahma. She sustains us when we are in that, from that tiny form until we brought into the world. So all these are the greatest of women. And this is why women have a great responsibility to make sure you maintain tradition. And not just for your sake, for your ancestors' sake. God happened, you damn your ancestry, you damn yourself, and your children will be living in a real hell, as I said, because they don't know what to do, how to practice, what to practice. So it's best you married people of the same background, same religion, same everything, which there's compatibility, and then that works out. So the scriptures warns about that. And Bhavish Puran has about that also. But Bhavish Puran warns about the Malish. Malish means those who do not believe in the word of Vishnu Bhagavan. They come to corrupt the society. And that happened in India when all the invaders. So that we'll deal, I don't want to go in detail, but we do that. I'll pass back on to Pranjaya. I'll pass on to you and you take it as you see fit.
Okay, Panditji, thank you very much. And Panditeshwar, what we'll do, I know we spoke about the Brahm Vivaha and the Gandhar Vivaha, and you said as the first and the fifth. But just for information's sake, if you can tell us what may be the last, I don't know if the right term is the lowest, but the last form of marriage, and give us an idea. Is it a lower form, or is it just a different form, the last form? I'll leave up to you to share with our viewers.
I thanks Panajay that, and I want to agree with Panagando. I must say that, I mean, he put it quite beautifully. Just to go back a little bit, when the question is posed, who should they marry if they come from a different background? What should be done? If they are willing to conform, and they have to conform to certain traditions, then you make a decision, appropriate decision. But that has to be weighed in also, whether the Dula had to be or the Dula hin to be, whether they are willing to conform to the ideals of Sanatan Dharma. And I say no more, it was well explained by Panagandeo. Now, when we come to the lowest form, Panajayadat, and forgive me viewers, to end on this particular, is called the Pesach Viva, right? And Pesach, you have, or Pesach as it's called, this last type of marriage, which is really of a very base nature. So it involves generally the man, one over the other, one who dominates the other, and generally it will be the man, who may have relations then with a woman, let's say, who may be intoxicated, who may be, it happens now where people are not in their full faculties, where they may be disabled, mentally challenged, let me say. So they have certain, shortcomings, and you play upon that. And not play upon that, you prey upon that. You may intoxicate them. You may cause them to be intoxicated. You may drug them and force yourself upon them. So that is a forced marriage where a man has, forced himself on an innocent lady, innocent young girl. And the result of that sometimes could be pregnancy, and then you go and what is the result? Marriage has to take place. So that way it happens, and it's documented in Manusmriti. It is a sin, a grievous sin. But even I think the contemporary term really in modern society, Western society, would be like Panajeda, I think it's date rape, something like that, right? That is the very lowest form, and it is recognized as a form because the reality is it has happened for a long time. For thousands of years, it has been going on, and it happens up to today. But we are praying here as Pandits of Swaha. We would not want that to happen to any of our sons or daughters or any of our viewers. It is the lowest form, it is a sin, and certainly it is not at all recommended. So, our children, I will say, 2 weeks we're talking about drinking the right kind of things and eating the right kind of food. When you go to a party and you go out liming, we're not saying you cannot lime and you can't enjoy yourself, but do not ever give a drink or give something to someone to compromise their situation and their own abilities and faculties. Be very careful what you do, especially when it comes to girls, young men, young women. Respect them. Men, young men, respect the women around you. Young women, do likewise, because if we fail to do so, according to Manusmriti, we are sinners, or you are committing a sin. Panajaidat?
Yes, thank you very much, Panishar. And I think that point is very important. It's not the most pleasant thing to end our session on, but it does bring us back to the reality of our society. And really, this is what the Hindu perspective is about. Looking at our scriptures, looking at what scriptures contain, and bringing it back to the realities of our situation. And we see more and more a prevalence of this, of sexual harassment, of sexual abuse in the workplace, amongst, well, from adults to children, predators preying on young children. In fact, recently, and I'm sure that we'd have all seen it in the newspaper, this ring of powerful persons who would have been preying on school children, who would have taken these young children from a young age and pretty much would have corrupted their mind and given them places in ministries and promise of wealth and all of that, so that they would be granted sexual favors, so that those things that scriptures speak about as the lowest form, and which is a sin according to Manusmriti and other scriptures, we are seeing those things play out in our society. And really, it is something that is very base, something that is deplorable. And we implore our Hindu brothers and sisters, and of course, not just the Hindus, but everyone outside there, to ensure that our minds are never so corrupt that we engage in such activities. So that as we wrap up our program, it's just for us to be aware of these things and to understand that we are infringing upon the right of others when we do that, especially to the young girls. We are destroying their lives, in fact, and sometimes it is only for moments of pleasure. So that we are wrapping up our program, and we have probably a minute or two, so I'll just pass over to Pandit Gandhi for his closing comment, and Pandit Ishwar for his closing comment, and of course the close of our program first.
Just to mention, I said, marriage is good. If you're marrying a good wife, you live happy. If you're marrying a bad wife, you turn philosopher. So marriage is always good.
Thank Panagandhu for his candid comments that I'm sure are true. Thankfully, I have a good wife, so things are going good. But devotees and viewers, to all of you, remind you, of course, keep your fast. Remember, Ganesh Utsav is starting up. And for those in the east area, we do have a little program, a Christian Leela, one night of Christian Leela at Swaha Hindu College. This is Saturday, the 27th at around 5 p.m. You're invited to come and join with us. Sitaram, everyone, and do join us next week.